What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update about SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right over here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia plus $100. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of Nvidia plus $100, or deposits $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. This offer ends very soon, so please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So I just wanted to mention that right now we were pretty much range bound on SPY. If we could break past 663.5, I think we could be pushing for 665. If we break 665, we're going to be a lot more bullish. But if we end up losing 662, there's going to be a risk of us dumping a lot lower back down to 660 or below. So we're kind of range bound right here. We're going to see if we pop a little bit as we have some data coming out, but then you want to be very careful. For today, it's Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Keep in mind, during the last day of the month, typically there's a lot of volatility and a lot of manipulation that could be coming. But the main thing is manipulation. There might be a lot of manipulation with price action that comes. The market's kind of choppy in the morning, but then we're going to see if we get more volatility once all this data comes out. The main times for volatility will be at these times. At 9:45 a.m., we have the Chicago PMI report, might cause volatility here and there. At 10 a.m., we basically also happen to have the Jolts job openings and job quits alongside consumer confidence. That may also cause some volatility. So you have to be ready for that just to be safe. We'll see what happens with all this data coming out. So expect some volatility once that does end up being released, and it might cause some sort of move either to the upside or the downside. Also, keep in mind the jobs numbers do affect the Fed's policies, so we'll see about that. Then at 10:30, we have the Dallas Fed Services Index alongside the Dallas Fed Services Revenue. So around the 10 a.m. hour, expect some volatility for stocks. And other than that, there's not really much else coming out. But then keep in mind that tomorrow is going to be Wednesday and it's going to be the start of October. That may also cause a big shift in seasonality. Also, what else is important is this. So, right now, there's a big standoff between Democrats and Republicans in Congress who are so far negotiating over healthcare and spending. They also need to pass a spending bill as soon as possible, or else there's going to be a government shutdown. So, they have to spend and figure out how they're going to negotiate and come to an agreement by 12:01 a.m. tomorrow. So that's actually like once midnight comes, they have to pretty much figure it out, or else there's going to be a government shutdown, which is important news. So keep that in mind. It could be affecting things. Now, if we see the opposite, if they end up coming to an agreement and they pass a spending bill, that could be bullish for stocks. If they don't, this could be a little bit more negative. We'll see what that ends up leading to. So be very careful overnight. I think it's something else that's worth remembering. And finally, we have Nike basically announcing their earnings after market close today. So that could also really affect things. So with that being said, let's talk about SPY and the others, what's going to likely happen as time goes on. Honestly, guys, when you look at SPY, if we break 663.5, we're going to be more bullish. If we lose 662, we'll turn back down. We might see a small push to like 663.5 and then some consolidation like this. But then, until we get a big reaction, a big break of these directions, we're range bound between 663.5 and 662. If we kind of like pop like this, and if we end up making another lower high, that could also be a sign that this is like a double top. We're about to see some kind of like pullback move, or vice versa. We could just kind of like break higher if we end up breaking resistance. So be careful if this is like a double top and we end up like turning back down lower, back down if we fail at 662. So to me, it looks like we're range bound between 662 and 663.5. We're just going to kind of go back and forth, but there is going to be some downside risk in case we end up losing support here. So be very mindful of that. When it comes to the QQQ, we're trying to push a little bit. Now, if we end up losing 596.9, we're looking for a dip lower. If we break 600, we're going to be a little bit more bullish. We might push a little bit higher for like 599 or so, but it depends Can we take out this high or not? If we make a lower high just under 600 and we can't break that, we could still turn back down to fill that gap on the QQQ. So if this is the high, we come down, make a lower high and turn down, then we could be once again coming back down right here. So be very, very careful if we end up getting some kind of rejection. That's going to be very, very important for how we end up moving. So keep that in mind. For the IWM Russell 2000, we also happen to have a bit of a downtrend as well. We have this resistance right here at 241 and support down here at 240. We're kind of looking at a range. If 240 fails us, we're looking for a dump back down. But if we break past 242, we're looking for a push higher. So be very careful. We're going to see if we test 242 and then kind of like turn back down or not. As you can tell, we're kind of making lower highs. So we're going to see if we break resistance. We might push for 242, but then if we get a rejection, we could still slow down. On ES, we have an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. So if ES could break this high right here at 67.40, then we're going to be looking more bullish. If we lose 66.93, we could turn back down to 66.80. So we're still technically in this range. Look for some upside to 67.20. And then we'll see if we turn down or not. It all depends. I do think this might push a little bit higher for 67.20. Then we'll see if it rejects. Look for some consolidation right now, and then we'll see what happens once this jobs data comes out at 10 a.m. For NQ, it's the same thing. We have support down here at 24,785 and 24,700, and resistance at 24,880. Might push a little bit higher towards the resistance and turn back down and consolidate. Then we'll see if we push up or down after that. So be careful if we do end up making lower highs. We need to see NQ break 24,960 to really continue. If not, we could be making a lower high and kind of like turning back down. For Bitcoin, we kind of got a rejection right here. We're going to see if 113,000 holds. If not, 112,000 is going to be coming next. For Tesla, range bound between 440 and 444, so it might just consolidate and eventually dip to 435 if that fails us. For Nvda, we have a nice looking inverse head and shoulders, so we're going to be favoring 184, and we'll have to see what happens after that. For Appl, we have resistance right here at 255 and support at 252.5 and then 250. We could be dipping a bit lower, so we'll just have to see what happens once we test 252.5. On AMD, we have support down here around 160. If that fails, we could be dipping to fill this gap. There is some downside risk. In terms of Palantir, we're just kind of range bound right here. It's just consolidated, not really doing a whole lot. Coinbase pushed all the way up towards that 336 area. It might be retesting 322 in case that fails. Amazon's consolidating. We need to break 222. If we do, we could be looking for 224 for some upside. Meta has resistance at 746 and support down here at 738. We're also range bound. Google's on a bit of a downtrend. We need to get back above 245 or else we might consolidate and slow down for 242. And then Microsoft could also be dipping back down towards 512. Unless we get back above 516, we could be dipping back down to like 512, which is going to be where our support is. And finally, the VIX, it has a gap to fill. So if the VIX starts dumping to fill this gap, it could mean the market's going to be going higher before this starts breaking out higher. Or it could be like the opposite. It could be the exact opposite because it's also possible the VIX does not dip much. It just kind of consolidates and starts breaking out higher. One of those two might be happening, so be very careful. There are gaps to fill below in the VIX, so that could be indicative of some upside that could be coming. But even if we do get some upside, there's no guarantee it lasts. And you also want to be very careful heading into October. So look for a small pop and some consolidation for now in the markets. And then we'll see what this data leads to once it comes out at 10 o'clock a.m. So be very patient. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Be ready for volatility at 10 a.m. And we'll see if that leads to some big moves or not. Thank you for listening and peace out.